So with Ben Shapiro and Nick Fuentes, do we have to pick a side between these two individuals, between these two ideologies, because they are coming at they are the extremes on both positions of whether you support Israel or whether you are opposed to Israel. And I want to start it off before we dive into this, and we're going to take a look at a clip from Megyn Kelly when she sat down with Ben Shapiro, and they discussed these things about Tucker bringing Nick Fuentes on and all that went into that. I would like to start it off with, I don't think that we have to choose one side or the other. I think we can take a nuanced position, and I think that is the best way that we are going to come out of this, because in every stage of life, in every arena of life that you find yourself in, everybody, you have to be on a team, and we survive as a team. There's that team mentality, whereas I think that we can take the good and remove the bad. I don't think we have to be wholesale bought into one side or the other, because I think that is when you're going to fall into the traps of the where they misstep. And I think that is a big. I think we need to be very nuanced in approaching these things. But let's take a look at this. This is Ben Shapiro was very critical of how Tucker approached the whole Nick Fuentes interview that he did a couple weeks ago, and Megyn Kelly was almost defending Tucker in this, and I think there's good with that as well. But Ben is coming at it. It seems like he seems like he is the mouthpiece for Israel right now. That's where it seems that we're at. When he is speaking, I think he is losing a lot of credibility because he is so diehard. It's not even we're getting his opinion a lot of the times, because I think he is just a spokesman. He is taking orders from his country, Israel. But let's take a look at this.
And the way, if you want to put a bumper up on Nick Fuentes, is it helpful to say, you're fucking vile, you're an anti-Semite?
Yes.
No, it isn't.
Yes, it
that
is.
doesn't put a...
Yes, it
no,
is.
it isn't. That makes
Yes,
the audience feel good because you have hand-to-hand combat, but it doesn't help change that guy's view or his extremeness at all.
Okay, I'll tell you what doesn't change Nick Fuentes' view. Tucker Carlson with his arm around Nick Fuentes, grinning for the camera, while Nick Fuentes tweets out America first, and then triumphantly goes on the air the next day to explain that he has essentially used Tucker Carlson as a vehicle for manipulating other people. Okay, that's what Nick Fuentes is saying, not me, Nick Fuentes. Okay, and Nick Fuentes, and by the way, I will again say that Tucker Carlson, when you say to somebody in an interview, do you condemn anti-Semitism? And then the person says, sure, which is what Nick Fuentes said. He said, I'm not an anti-Semite, which is blatantly untrue. Yeah. A responsible journalist would then follow up, demonstrating that that is false. Tucker did not do that. He allowed him to get away with that, and then he allowed him to talk about, quote-unquote, organized Jewry, followed by Nick Fuentes being treated to a disquisition by Tucker Carlson about why Christian Zionists of all human beings on earth are the people that he hates the most.
Whether Nick is an anti-Semite, because it's just another way of saying we've made it so it's like pinpoint accuracy of it's racism. If you're a racist because you think of Jews, they've zoned in specifically to that nationality, to that ethnicity, and they've made it anti-Semitism, which is terrible. I mean, I think being racist there is you can agree and understand that there's a difference between we have different ethnicities. We come from different cultures. We're not the same. Nobody's the exact same as everyone else. And you prefer maybe one as opposed to the other, but you understand that we're all of equal value. You can, I say prefer one as opposed to the other. There are things that you don't like that one culture brings as opposed to another culture. And I think to just close our eyes to that is stupid. But it doesn't mean that you don't value that person as a child of God. You don't throw that out. But Ben talking about anti-Semitism and calling Nick that and saying that he is that, Nick is very nuanced about this as well. He doesn't just go into and He says that he loves everyone, he likes everyone, but he is very harsh and critical on the Jewish people because he believes that they have such a foothold on American way of life. I think Nick sees everything through that is like the prism that he views everything. The Jews are behind everything. The Jews are controlling everything. They're pulling the strings. I think that he's right and correct about a lot of the things that he is espousing about the Jewish people because they have such a foothold. And I'm a person that I'm a Christian, and I support the nation of Israel from a biblical perspective. And I think that we have to do that. I think that we should do that, and that we're closing our eyes to their uniqueness if we don't. But that's not to say that they are perfect. The Jewish people are not perfect. And if you are not diehard and you're not saying everything perfectly in line with you, they will cast you out. Because I'm not going to please the people on Israel's side. I'm not going to please Ben Shapiro. I know I won't, because I won't be able. I'm not going to bow the knee completely and say you are everything you do is correct. Everything that Israel does is perfect. But I also know on Nick Fuentes' side and the crew, the following that he has, I'm not going to please everyone on their side as well, because I think that we have to be very nuanced about this. I don't think that everything that Israel does that they're terrible. And this is the new based movement. If you're criticizing Israel, you're cool now. That because it's recognized in a true reality that they are pulling a lot of strings. They've been involved and had their hands in so many things in our way of life that it's too entangled with everything. It reaches in, it goes into the far recesses of all of our American way of life, to the highest political structures that are out there. So I know on both sides, on Israel's side, and if you're a person that's out there and you recognize this, I mean, it feels like we're going to be fewer and fewer that are going to go along this narrow path of saying it's because you're almost being forced to, I'm going to have to pick a side. Israel is terrible and they're the worst thing on this planet, or I bleed blue and white. I would die for Israel. I would they are nothing they do is bad at all. I see everything that they're doing everything perfect, and on both sides they're going to criticize you, and on both sides they're going to tear you apart. And it's I think that we can understand that we can have a bigger mind, and we don't have to buy into this whole team structure. And I see so many times there people keep saying that Nick is right about Israel, and that's being put out there, and he is telling people to say that, and I think he is right on a lot of things about them, but he's starting from a rocky foundation, and he's been hurt so much by Israel and the whole that assassination on his life and his career from them, because they have silenced him. They're not letting anyone talk about him, and if you talk about him, they're painting you and putting you in a box. Me even saying this, if I'm not saying everything Israel does is perfect, I have no chance, and I understand that. But I also know on Nick's side, maybe there's a little bit more grace, I feel like, on Nick's side, because maybe we can talk about this a little bit. We can actually get into it. On the Israel side, they're just saying you can't speak of this whatsoever. I want to just wrap this up with a little bit more of what Ben says, because I think it's very interesting what he brings up.
He took that back.
You can't take that back.
You
How
can
do you take
too.
that back?
He did.
How?
Because he
should explain why it was wrong. He should explain why Christian Zionists are actually wonderful people.
Tucker is very quick to self-flagellate, and he went on with Dave Smith the next day, the next week, whatever, Monday, Tuesday this week, and said, that was stupid. I didn't mean that. He said, I'm angry at people like Lindsey Graham. I'm angry at people like Ted Cruz, because he thinks they run headfirst in these conflicts and they don't think about what's going to happen to American kids.
Hold up. If we're talking about firing inside the tent, everything Lindsey Graham, okay, and I'm not a huge Lindsey Graham fan. He votes with the President of the United States 100% of the time, and Tucker spent yesterday's show excoriating him as a psychosexual death worshiper. Does that sound like firing outside the tent?
I can't, it's hard, because I like Ben, I like Nick, I like a lot of these people, and that's the thing, just saying you like someone or they have good points, Ben was the hero of conservative movement for the longest time, and people recognized that. He advanced it. He was like Charlie Kirk before Charlie Kirk was there, but now things are coming to light, and he's like digging himself into a corner. He's putting himself into a corner now that is different than anyone else, because I feel like he is controlled so much by Israel. He is taking orders from them, and you could say he's always been like this. Nick has just daylighted it, and now Ben is just even more so. I don't think we can take what he says like seriously at times. There's still a lot of good that he's doing, but I'm still of the mind that we do not have to just say I'm choosing this side or that side. I'm all in on this side or that side, because if we put ourselves in that way and we don't just discuss these things, we're gonna like fall to the lowest common denominator. We're not gonna be better. We're not gonna the best ideas aren't gonna move forward. It becomes this whole Republican versus Democrat that is just, it's nonsense. Everybody should move to the independent mind. If you want to say it's America first, if that could be the movement, I'm like, and I've heard Elon want to talk about starting a America party. We need to consolidate, consolidate and have a freedom of thought, freedom of speech. Christ is king. That should be our mindset. This is what Nick puts out there, but it's become so like, touchy-feely. If you say anything wrong, if you go against at all, if you're not lockstep completely, then you're out. And I think I still do see that on the Groyper side with Nick Fuentes and this whole movement that is happening, this is what is going to win. This is what is Nick's side is going to win this, and he is going to become more and more mainstream. He is not going to stop. This is what is coming, and I think within his movement there should be freedom of thought. We don't have to say Israel is terrible about everything, and if you're saying that, you're just closing your eyes and you're just buying in hook, line, and sinker to all of this. When there is a lot of good within Israel. There is a lot of good within Israel, and they would have a lot more. You would have a lot more freedom. You would much rather go and live in Israel than a lot of the other surrounding nations that are over there. I'm guessing, because you would have a lot more freedom. It would be a lot more close to our way of life, our American way of life. So if you're out there, if you think that you have to pick one side or the other, I'd love to hear it. Drop a comment. Let me know what you think. Smash that like button. Subscribe to this channel. Follow me on X and Instagram at Brandon Fogel. Have a safe day. Have a great day, everyone.
I could see the cracks falling in the paint, growing like a fire. What do I say? Can you see them? Can you